Today I'm going to show you how to get started playing the bassoon if you are switching from the trumpet. And even though there are a lot of differences between these two instruments, you're going to feel a lot more confident if you follow along with the tips that I show you today. My name is Natalie Law, and one of my favorite things to do is teach people how to play the bassoon. This is why I created this YouTube channel and my videos, as well as my website, buildingabassoonist.com, to create high quality and accessible online resources for anybody who wants to get started on the bassoon. If you are just starting out, comment down below what sorts of things are you struggling with? What do you find most difficult about learning the bassoon? And I'll do my best to help you out. This video is meant to show you the most important things that you need to know to start playing the bassoon. It's not a comprehensive video. There are a lot more pieces of information that you need to know to get started. However, if you hit the subscribe button and the bell icon next to it, you'll be notified every single time that I upload a video that could help you out as you're learning the bassoon. One major difference between the bassoon and the trumpet is the embouchure. And embouchure is just a fancy word that means how we form our lips around the reed to create sound. As a trumpet player, you are used to creating a buzz against a mouthpiece to make sound on that instrument, but that's not something that we really do in the woodwind family or on the bassoon. There are three main steps to creating a bassoon embouchure. The first step is to pretend like you're whistling. Step number 2 is, while you are making that whistling face, roll your bottom lip just slightly over your bottom teeth to create a cushion for the reed. Step number 3 is to make sure that your top lip is just ahead of your bottom lip if you were to look at your embouchure from the side. In addition, you'll want to remember to make sure that your corners are always pulled in and that you always have a very open and tall embouchure, that you're always thinking oh or toe when you are tonguing on the bassoon. In addition to making a bassoon embouchure, you're going to have to know how to tongue on the bassoon or how to articulate. As a trumpet player, you are probably used to your tongue actually hitting the back of your teeth or your gum, but when you have a reed in your mouth, you'll have to get used to how your tongue hits the reed. To be able to tongue on the bassoon, the tip of the bottom blade of the reed will make contact with just behind the tip of the top of your tongue. When you are tonguing on the bassoon, think about using a to or a do syllable. So before you actually start playing the bassoon, try out this exercise with just the reed, thinking do, and think about constant airstream. In that exercise, I'm thinking do, 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 and my air is constant. What might happen when you first try this exercise is it might sound something like this. In that instance, my air is stopping in between each do sound. So instead, you want to think your air is constantly going and your tongue is just slightly interrupting that airstream on each do. So here is the exercise again. Since you've likely never played with a reed before, there are a couple important things you need to know about using reeds. Before you play the bassoon for the day, you need to soak your reed completely in some sort of container of water. I just have an old prescription bottle that I cleaned out that I use as my water source. You can use pretty much any container. Just remember to change the water out at least once a day and consistently clean the container itself to keep your water fresh and to keep your reeds clean and lasting as long as possible. When you are not playing, you need to store your reeds in a container where there is some sort of air ventilation so that the moisture that is left inside the reed does not stay there and it has a place to go. If you store your reeds in an airtight container, you'll probably notice that they get moldy or gross over time and they won't be usable anymore. The question often comes up, how often do I have to replace my reeds? And the answer is that it depends. It depends on how many reeds you have at any given time and how well you're rotating in between them. It depends on how often you're playing on your reeds. It depends on what type of playing you're doing on your reeds. So your reeds could last anywhere from a couple weeks to a couple months, depending on all of those factors. You'll notice that your reed needs to be replaced when you start to lose control of the sound and the tone of the reed starts to sound worse and it's not functioning like it previously was. In that case, you need to replace the reed with a new reed and break it in. When you switch to the bassoon, you need to learn how to read bass clef. As a trumpet player, you are used to reading the treble clef, and the bass clef works a little bit differently. So in order to learn the notes in the bass clef staff, think about some sort of phrase that can help you learn both the lines and the spaces in the bass clef staff. So you can think about good, boys, do, fine, always, to learn about the note names for the lines on the bass clef staff. And you can think about all cows eat grass to understand what the note names are for the spaces on the bass clef staff. If you learned something today or got some sort of value out of this video, I would love if you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel so that you stay up to date every time I upload something that might be useful for you. Even though you may be struggling with the bassoon right now, with enough consistent and thoughtful practice, it will become easier and more enjoyable to play as time goes on.